So you want to side hustle something with a little entrepreneurial spirit and maybe even something that does some good for the planet. Right. We hear you. Turning trash into treasure, literally, with a paper recycling business. Could that be your ticket to success? We're time-traveling back with this vintage guide, How to Start Your Own Paper Recycling Business. This thing reads like it was printed alongside those old get-rich-in-real estate infomercials, you know? But stay with us on this deep dive, because there are some real gems buried in here, I think.
Ooh, shoulder pads and leg warmers, maybe.
Maybe. But this guide claims you can launch your paper recycling empire with minimal investment, just by being the link between, like, overflowing office bins and those hungry recycling plants.
That's the dream.
I know, right? The guide says they were getting 50 bucks a ton for old newspapers.
Seriously?
Office paper, 120. I mean, if those numbers were ever truly accurate, where do I sign up for that time machine?
A time machine would be fascinating, wouldn't it? But let's consider the historical context here for a second.
Okay, yeah, point.
The guide definitely paints a rosy picture, but remember, the recycling landscape was vastly different back then.
Right.
Lower supply, less competition, and maybe the biggest factor, the global market for recycled materials was just totally different. All that could easily have driven those prices up.
Okay, so those vintage price tags might be a little too good to be true today. But does that mean this whole idea is, like, ready for the recycling bin of history itself?
Not necessarily. The core concept is still valid, connecting a waste product with market demand, right? But we need to swap that vintage optimism for some hard data and modern-day realities.
Yeah. I like it. Out with the old, in with the new.
What are the actual costs these days, the logistics, the regulations in today's world? And are those price tags per ton even remotely close? That's where our deep dive gets interesting.
This vintage guide makes starting a paper recycling business sound so easy.
Yeah.
Like, just collect old newspapers, throw them in your pickup truck, drive straight to the bank.
Right, easy peasy.
They even tell this, like, almost romanticized tale, this old-timer running a one-man show, just him and his push cart.
A push cart, I love it.
And then they throw in those six-figure earners, you know, to really get those entrepreneurial juices flowing.
Of course. Gotta have those.
But something tells me there's more to the story, especially today. Let's break down these logistics a little bit. What do you think?
Let's do it. The first thing that comes to mind is storage space.
Yeah, good point.
That can make or break this business model. You know what I mean?
Totally.
We aren't talking about, like, a few stacks of newspapers here, right?
Oh, yeah.
To move enough volume to make a decent profit, you need serious square footage. And that, my friend, costs money. Then there's transportation.
Yeah.
Fuel costs. Those aren't exactly vintage prices these days.
Not so much.
Our pushcart entrepreneur, he might need an upgrade.
For sure, for sure. And let's not forget about actually finding those buyers for all that paper, too.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm guessing those recycling plants aren't just handing out blank checks, you know?
Definitely not. You're catching on.
Okay, good, good.
Today, recycling involves a whole lot more than just showing up with a truckload of paper. You're talking different grades of paper, processing requirements, even international market forces can really fluctuate those prices.
Oh, yeah.
Remember those import restrictions a few years back?
I do, yeah.
They shook up the entire recycling industry.
Totally. Wow. This is a lot more complex than our vintage guide really let on.
A little bit, yeah.
But hey, maybe those six-figure earners, maybe they were onto something with the whole work smarter, not harder approach.
I like it, yeah.
And speaking of which, our guide suggests this idea of becoming a paper baron.
A paper baron, okay.
By partnering with schools and community groups for their paper drive.
Ah, okay.
Outsourcing that collection part, kind of brilliant.
That's a clever idea for sure, no doubt about it.
Right.
But imagine pitching that partnership today.
Yeah, it's different now.
Right. Would schools even still be interested when so many of them already have established recycling programs? And would those programs even need an independent middleman anymore? These are the modern day questions, right, that our vintage guide doesn't quite anticipate.
Okay, so we've gone from that vintage optimism to the reality of today's recycling world.
A lot has changed, that's for sure.
It really has, but the big question is still out there. Can you build a paper recycling business today? And can you actually make a profit from it?
That is the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And I think, like most things, the answer is a little more complicated than a simple yes or no.
Right.
Our vintage guide, it might be a little light on the modern realities.
Yeah.
But it does highlight a really crucial point, I think. There is inherent value in connecting a source, in this case, all that paper we're trying to recycle, with those recycling plants that need it.
So the demand is still there. But, like you said, the game has changed.
The game has definitely changed.
So what's the game plan now for somebody listening who still wants to give this a shot?
First things first, information is power.
Love it.
Before you invest in anything, even that vintage pushcart, pick up the phone.
Okay.
Call your local recycling centers, waste management companies, anyone who deals with paper recycling in your area.
Got it.
Find out what kind of paper they're accepting, what their rates are, and if they even work with smaller collectors.
So it's like market research, but instead of spreadsheets, we're going old school, picking up the phone.
Exactly. You got it.
I like it. What else should we be thinking about?
Don't forget the less exciting stuff, regulations.
Right. Of course.
They're different everywhere, so contact your local government, find out about permits, licenses, all those rules about collecting and transporting recyclable material.
Got to cover all the bases.
Absolutely.
Make sure everything's legit.
Exactly. And while you're doing that, scope out the competition.
Okay. Yeah, good idea.
Are there already established businesses doing this in your area? What are they doing well? Where are the gaps?
Could you fill those gaps, maybe?
Exactly. Maybe there's a niche they're missing, a certain type of paper, a service they don't offer.
Finding your niche in the recycling world. I like it.
There you go. And here's the thing, and this is something our vintage guide focused on profits doesn't really mention, the ethical side of things.
Oh, interesting. Yeah, it's different now.
Recycling today, it's not just about making money. It's about sustainability, responsibility, making a difference for the planet. How can you bring those values into how you do business?
Really good point. You could partner with local groups that are already about that. Maybe even donate some of your profits to environmental causes.
Exactly. It's not just about being profitable. It's about having a purpose.
I love that.
And you know what? That purpose, it might just be your competitive edge.
That's a great point. Turning trash into treasure for your wallet and the planet. Now, that's what I call a winning formula. Thanks for diving into this with me.
My pleasure.